Hello students, this is Ms. Cagle, and today I'm going to start talking about Unit 4, which is your instruction report. Normally I don't show the top of the Moodle unit because the dates might be wrong for the next group of people that are watching this video. However, I do want to state the disclaimer that I have at the top. You are going to be, for this particular unit, writing a report that tells someone who is unfamiliar of how to do a task, how to complete that task. That can be as simple as baking a cake, how to, reupholster a chair, how to change the brakes, how to change the tire, how to do anything, how to reprogram something on a computer. It can be anything that you want to teach someone, but it must be something you can either film or photograph yourself doing next week. You will be doing a presentation of this skill where you are essentially creating a voiced over PowerPoint next week. So you have to be able to demonstrate these things. So if you do not have the money to change your oil, or it's not time to do that, or you don't know anyone who is ready to do that, then do not choose that to be your project. So make sure, just I guess in short, make sure that this is something that you can demonstrate next week. The demonstration has to be your icons, your pictures. It cannot be stock images. So make sure it's something you can do. That means that you may not want to do whatever your job is, because your job may not allow you to film or take pictures of the processes that they do at work. If that is the case, do not do this week. So keep in mind that what you plan to do this week has to be able to carry over to next week. If it can't, you will not be permitted to go back and redo. You will not be permitted to go back and just do the video. You will have to redo this entire one too. So I'm giving you that heads up now, and it will be in the announcements that I give you at the beginning of the semester. All right, let's go over the Moodle site for this week. I forgot to delete that, sorry. So you've got a couple URLs, some writing and how to write instructions, how to write an introduction. You'll need to look at chapter 8 for creating and integrating graphics into your report. And then you will need, this is an example like someone did on how to change front disc brake pads. So let's get into the lecture for this week. All right, so then this unit, you're going to be able to write a report giving instructions effectively for a task, and then to integrate graphics into your report to optimize the learning of the skill. Now, the graphics for this particular report, I am okay if you use stock photos, but for next week, when you create the PowerPoint that you'll be doing to present it, it will need to be you doing the things. So some good instructions need to have the following things. First, clear and simple writing. It does not need to be overly complex. Remember, you are teaching someone how to do something that has never done this before. These are not instructions that you are giving to someone who is a wizard at changing a tire. This is for the me of the world. Ms. Cagle does not know how to change a tire. So this is something that I would benefit from. Make sure, however, that is something you have a thorough understanding of in the procedure and all its technical detail. Don't try to teach somebody something that you just YouTubed 2 minutes ago. Teach somebody something you know how to do. Make sure you're putting yourself in the place of the reader or the person trying to use your instructions. So a good rule of thumb is to do the assignment based on those instructions to make sure you didn't skip a step. You need to have the ability to visualize the procedure in detail and to capture that on paper, and then your willingness to go the extra distance and test your instructions on the kind of person you wrote them for. So you could even have in your video next week, you could even have maybe your mom following your instructions to show that they are instructions that can be followed. All right, before you start writing your paper, you need to make sure that you think about your audience and the situations of your instructions. Just reiterating that when defining an audience, think about the familiarity that your audience has on the task. And include the audience in the list of instructions so the reader knows that they are the intended audience of the instructions. So your instructions should say this is intended for these instructions are advanced or for a beginner. That way, if a beginner tries to use the instructions for an advanced learner, they wouldn't go into those. Now, procedure versus task versus step. Your procedure is your overall goal, where a task is an independent group of action within the procedure, and a step is each piece that contributes to the task that contributes to the procedure as a whole. So, phrases are groups of things that are groups of similar steps. So, it might be make your instructions easier to follow to group similar steps into phases. So phase 1, you're going to do these tasks. Phase 2, you're going to do these. Phase 3, we're finishing it up. So here's how we can organize your instructions. There's 2 different ways. Task approach, so based on task and what makes sense for things to go first, second, and third. This is quite easier because you're viewing the project as a whole. So a task approach would be really good for a beginner. You can also do it as a tools approach, organized based on what tools are needed. That way the reader completes the steps with one tool before they move on to the next. This is harder to think of as the whole picture, and maybe something that a more advanced technician would need to be able to know how to do. So this is kind of what I'm expecting to see in terms of how this is broken down. You're going to have your title at the top. Under the title, you're going to identify the procedure, indicate the audience, and the overview of what's going to be covered. Then a list of equipment and supplies. Your equipment can be here, and then details if necessary for these. And then you need a heading for the instructions. So you could say operating, using, or how to. And then for the actual instructions, using some sort of a lead-in or third-level heading if there's identifiable phrases or just numbers for sequential steps. Should you use graphics? Yes. Think about the visuals that would help the reader. You have a minimum of 3 visuals that you are required. It can be images of tools, a diagram, or what the finished product needs to look like. But your visual is not going to just be a bulleted list of steps. That is not this. I've had that before, and that person failed. Your steps are what you type. Your visuals are what you find to make your steps more appealing and easier to understand. Each item needs a name. For example, figure 1 oil filter and a caption. This is the oil filter needed to change the car. And so we're going to show you how to insert the name and caption here. So let's go ahead and pull up a Word document. So let's find a picture on the internet. Hold on just a second. I have a million tabs open. I apologize for that. So let's just say lug wrench. Bless me. All right, so you're going to show them an example of a lug wrench that you would need to change the tire. So let's say we're going to use this one. So you're going to hit copy, go into it, and hit paste. And now we have that picture. Now, we need to put in a caption. So we're going to go insert caption here. And the caption is going to be, hold on, it's not letting me delete. Figure below. Okay, figure 1. And so figure 1 is lug wrench needed to change tire. So you're just going to right click and then go down to insert caption. Okay, so that is how we do that. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. Now, some things we need to remember for grammar. No personal pronouns. We do not need to use the words I, me, my, you, yours, us, or we. Instead, use words like the mechanic, the construction worker, the technician, the cleaner, the whatever. Make sure you're capitalizing proper nouns and watch out for run-on sentences and commas. Your paper must be in MLA formatting. If you can't remember how to do that, go back to the Get to Know You unit and look at the writing expectations video. But we are going to be single spacing the paper within the paragraphs. If you find your information online in terms of the how-to, you need to cite any sources you use for the directions or the images. For this particular assignment, I am okay with you simply using the links on a separate page. However, I do want you moving forward. I will teach you guys how to do a works cited page, and then you will need a table of figures on your works cited page, and I will show you guys how to do that when we get to the student sample. Guidelines. Make sure use a procedure you follow at work in your program of study. If you cannot do that, it can be anything technical, anything that requires instructions. Please do not make it as simple as how to make like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I think that's a cop out. However, if you're a baker or a chef and you have a really technical like beef Wellington or a baked Alaska, you could do something like that. You're going to be writing a set of instructions. This should be for new employees, so you're going to be writing these at the beginner level. Assume that they have some technical skills, but they do not know the step-by-step process of the procedure. You must have 3 graphics in your report. You must have the following things in your report: a title. Your introduction will have a purpose statement and a summary of steps. You'll have a list or illustration giving the equipment needed, include a description of each item, technical background needed, and safety information or cautions. It is important that if there is something dangerous, that you make a note that it is dangerous. You know, if you're changing the tire and you need to make sure that you put the jack in correctly, tell them that that is dangerous, that the car could fall on you. In your body, you need to have a numbered list of the steps, one action for each step leading with a verb, so an action word. You're going to use bullets or letters for emphasis, emphasizing cautions or warnings, and graphics if needed, and then explaining the final product to close out the report. All right, so let's go into Moodle and just kind of look at your assignments. Your secret word is lug wrench. That is the secret word, lug wrench. All right, so you'll put that in for secret word number 6. Don't forget to do your quick write, and you're going to be completing an outline for this, just similarly to the outline that you completed for the progress report in Unit 3. So we'll be opening that up. Let's take a look-see. So this just kind of gives you a place, purpose, summary, the list of the equipment with the description, the breakdown of the steps, along with the equipment needed, and then the conclusion wrap-up. Remember, you do not have to be very specific with this. It can just be 1 or 2 words to help to guide you in the direction you need to go for this particular assignment. X out of that, don't save. All right, and let's look at the student sample. Student sample. All right, let's look at that student sample here. All right, so we have here the automotive painting basic steps, and this is the summary, the equipment, painting, paint gun, mastic broom, mop, paint suit, cleaning the booth. So they show figure 1, figure 2. They've got the source underneath. I'm perfectly okay with that, but notice how small it is compared to the rest of the font. And then we have more specific directions here, all with proper grammar. Mixing the paint, we have that image here with steps. Painting the car, we have that image here with steps. And then the note. This is to kind of wrap things up. So this is kind of what I expect to look at. Like the length is kind of what I expect it to be. But this is something that this student was able to show in a video the next week. So do remember that that is something that is necessary. All right, once it's done, you're going to turn this in here, just remembering that this assignment will close 3 days after the due date. And if you turn in late, the maximum grade you'll get is a 70. So please do make sure that you are getting this work turned in on time. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to send me an email, or if you'd like to set up a meeting during virtual office hours, don't forget to check out when those are on the Moodle page at the top to the right. I can't wait to see you guys soon. Have a wonderful day.